Hey, this is Eleanor.
And hi, this is Lisa.
Welcome to the first ever video podcast.
Yes.
What's Your Grief?
Yes. So if you haven't listened to our podcast before, we do a podcast where we talk about life after loss, one topic at a time.
That's right.
And if you haven't seen it, you can get it on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. And now that we have these videos, we'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our first go around with the video podcast. So we're going to do one that's really short and sweet.
Exactly.
Maybe 10 minutes. To do it as our first kind of like pilot and work the kinks out as we go. Hopefully we'll get a little bit better at this.
So bear with us.
But we have chosen a topic that we think is like really important. But it's not terribly complex, I think, the way that we want people to like really approach this and look at this topic.
Yes. So what we want to talk about today is something that doesn't directly relate to grievers' own experience, but the experience of trying to support someone who's grieving. And one of the things that we know from going through our own losses and from working with grievers over many years is that unfortunately, oftentimes, when you're grieving, you're surrounded by all these wonderful, well-intentioned friends and family members who want to support you and who have no idea what the heck they're doing.
Right. I think that's a really important thing that you just said, because everybody has their horror story of something terrible somebody said to them when they're grieving. And we do know that there are terrible people in this world. But most of your friends and family probably want to be good support people for you. We just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, they haven't gotten a lot of guidance. We all want to do the right thing.
Right.
And we've said before, it's so funny. One of the posts that gets so much traffic on our website is this post about how to write a sympathy card. And I always think it's crazy how many people come and visit that site. But I think that it is because people just have no idea what to say and do, and they want to do the right thing. So a lot of times people want a checklist. Like, just tell me what to do. How do I support my grieving friend? And unfortunately,
won't work.
A lot more complicated than that.
Well, there's nothing, as you know, as people who are grieving, nothing about grief is black and white, right? So grief is individual depending on the person and their relationship with the person who died, their coping skills, what their secondary stressors are. So if everybody's grief is different, then what they need from their support people in their grief is going to be different every time. So what one person may need and want, the next person may be like, no thank you.
Exactly.
So it's really, really hard for us to give anybody a black and white list of things that they can do. So all we can do is offer this framework that we think really works when trying to conceptualize how we can support people in their grief.
Yes. So in its simplest terms, we want to think about what is our natural inclination, which happens to be an inclination that sometimes leads us astray.
Yes.
And then how can we focus on doing things a little bit differently in a way that no matter who you're grieving person is in your life, that hopefully this will be able to work for you.
Absolutely.
So the natural inclination piece is really intuitive, very easy to understand, which is just that when we see someone else suffering or in pain, our human nature is like that we want to take the pain away.
Yes, absolutely.
We want to make them feel better. We want to comfort them. We want to do something to fix that situation.
And in some instances, this will work, right?
Well, yeah.
So, like, if my daughter falls off her bike and skins her knee, it's nothing. It's nothing terrible.
Right.
Usually, a Band-Aid will help. Maybe kind of redirecting her towards a popsicle or something will kind of take away that pain.
It's true. Unfortunately, when it comes to things like grief, Band-Aids and popsicles,
typically
not going to work.
Not the solution.
And this is really where things get tricky, is because our natural inclination is someone is suffering and we want to do something to take that pain away.
Right.
So we look for what is the right thing to do or to say in this moment that can make this person feel better.
Well, and you guys can all feel the pressure is off you because there is absolutely nothing you can do or say to take away anyone's pain. So stop worrying about that because you can't do it. There is just like literally nothing you can do to take away your griever's pain.
Exactly.
Somebody who's grieving is going to be in pain regardless of whether you say the right thing or not.
And so from that, I think there is a sense of, like you said, a sense of relief because it means I don't have to come up with the right thing to say. Just part of that's thinking it through. So when you're getting ready to say something to somebody who's grieving, really think about, okay, am I saying this because I'm looking for some sort of silver lining or I want them to look on the bright side? You don't want to do that.
So
it's just going to make a griever angry.
I'm a griever. Give me an example.
Okay. So things not to say. Well, Eleanor, at least least he's in a better place now.
Oh, okay.
And at least you'll be able to get remarried.
Okay.
And at least he lived a good long life.
I noticed there's a theme there.
Yeah, there's a theme. There's a theme. And that theme is that I used the phrase at least.
Yes. At least 3 times.
3 times. At least 3 times. And yeah, that's usually a good sign that you are about to say something that is looking for a bright side, that a griever is usually not interested in trying to find in that moment.
Yes.
And that is also sometimes really minimizing to
Yeah,
their experience of what they've just
It
gone
looks
through.
past what you see in front of you, which is somebody's excruciating pain. It looks past them and says, oh, well, but at least they lived a good long life. At least you can have other kids. It's just very, it disregards what you're seeing right in front of you, which people want to be seen many times and want to be understood. And it can feel very isolating when it feels like people don't understand you at all.
Exactly. So I think that really transitions well from, okay, what we want to do, what we're inclined to do, to what can actually be a lot more helpful for someone who's grieving. Right. Which is thinking about the idea of, instead of being a comforter and somebody who's going to comfort someone else and try to take away that pain, because you can't do that. Right. To be somebody who's going to support someone through that pain. Right. To acknowledge that pain is there. Absolutely. It's not going anywhere. The worst thing that could have happened has happened. All I can do now is not fix or change that. It's to support you in any way I can through that experience.
Right. So if you think about what the word comfort means, to take away pain, we're not grief comforters. Support means to kind of hold somebody up, to let somebody lean on you as you walk through whatever is happening. It's not taking anything away. Right. It's acknowledging the presence of something and saying, how can we get through this? Or how can I help you get through this?
And the way that looks, this goes back to the fact that it's going to be different for every griever. Yeah,
right.
What you need for support to get through something might be totally different than what I need, and totally different than what the next person needs. And this is why it can feel a little bit daunting and confusing. I can't give you a checklist to say, okay, someone's grieving, here's the support you should offer, check. Part of it is doing a little assessment and going, okay, who is this person? I know them really well. I love them. I care about them. I understand the big factors in their life, the stressors in their life. I understand their personality, kind of what their usual style is about things. So I can look at that. And then I can look at me.
Yes, this is a very important rule, because I think a lot of times people assume they need to be something they're not.
No, they're not, exactly.
And so, for example, if I all of a sudden was like, oh, they're grieving, they probably need a hug. Now, I'm not really a hugger, so if I try to execute that, all it's going to do is create a really awkward moment, which nobody needs an awkward moment on top of their grief.
It's very true.
So,
very true.
Self-reflect on what your relationship is like with that person, and what makes sense for you to offer. So is it logistical support? Is it like, I'll mow your lawn for you? I have a good relationship with your kids. Let me take your kids to the movies. You can have the afternoon off. Is it really simple, like practical things? Or is it being like, hey, I'm just going to come chill on your sofa and eat ice cream. So if you want to join me, I'll be here.
I'll be here. Yeah. You can watch Bravo. It'll be great.
Exactly. So it's just offering and really reflecting on what your relationship is and what makes sense for you.
And the other piece is really communicating, because one of the challenges is that sometimes we hear this a lot from grievers. Yeah. It annoys them when somebody says, if you need anything, let me know. Because they're like, oh my God, I don't even know what I need. Yeah. And now I feel guilty asking, and all of those things. So on the one hand, you don't want to put it all on the griever. Right. On the other hand, you do want to keep the communication open and be really saying, here's all of the things that I'm happy to do. Right. And I'm going to keep kind of calling you and offering stuff and checking in and seeing if you want to go out somewhere, or if you want me to come over. You need to tell me if I'm like driving you nuts or inserting myself too much, kind of putting that piece on the griever. But you being the active one, because when we're grieving, part of the problem is like you just have no motivation a lot of the time to even begin to reach out, even if you need help.
I mean, if you think about the possibilities here, so either you can ask and all they simply have to do is say no thank you. You could say nothing and make them feel like you don't care, make them feel forgotten, make them feel isolated. Or you can say, well, just let me know, and you can put all the responsibility on the person who's grieving. So if you think about those 3 options, clearly just offering makes the most sense, right? And, if they push back, if they say no, read their cues. If they really do need space and time, fine,
Give
give
the
it to
space
them.
and time.
But don't give them eternity.
Yes.
Continue to check in and say, you know, I'm
Periodically.
still here.
Exactly.
I think another thing, we're talking about like really practical things, but also those emotional things. So
Yes.
I'm here for you. Hey, I'm just going to sit here with you and listen, or just be here sitting in silence. Or, hey, you know what? I remember your loved one too. I haven't forgotten about your loved one.
Yeah, and
don't be
saying
afraid
their
to
name.
say, don't be afraid to say their name. Don't be afraid to bring up memories or bring up something that, you know, they would have loved.
Exactly. And I think that this piece of it is really being able to let that person grieving know that there are people who understand that they're not going to be feeling better in a month or 3 months or 6 months or even a year or 2 years. The grief is forever in different ways. And the shape changes and the form changes, but that ultimately you're going to be there for them, not just in the first week or the first month or the first 3 months, but that you're going to be there for the long term, and that you're going to be okay with their pain right now, and that you're going to be okay with their pain when it still exists down the road.
Right. So being a grief supporter is being a grief supporter forever. Right?
Forever. Remember the holidays, remember the birthdays, the anniversaries, you know, checking in at those times down the road. That's something that shows that person, you know, you didn't forget. You're really there with them.
Yeah. So we have a lot on our website about this, so we will leave that on our notes page. We're going to end this video here to keep it kind of short and sweet. But in summary, you are not a grief comforter.
Correct.
You are a grief supporter. Be there in the long term. Don't be afraid to say their name. Don't be afraid to push a little bit, but pay attention and listen if they say, you know, I need a little bit of space and time. So
exactly.
We will put notes up for this video podcast on our notes page, which will be at whatsyourgrief.com/37. That's 37 spelled out. 30-7. And yeah.